Hello and welcome to this podcast from the BBC World Service. Please let us know what you think and tell other people about us on social media. Podcasts from the BBC World Service are supported by advertising.
I'll never forget my first time diving with sharks. I'd made my way to Simonstown in South Africa. The plan was to get as close as possible to a great white shark. These animals can reach up to 7 meters in length. That's huge, about the same length as a caravan. And getting into the water with them would be the perfect way of getting a real sense of their sheer bulk and how their stealth and speed make them such formidable predators. Now, some people are bold enough to dive with great whites in the open ocean, but I wasn't quite willing to take any chances. Well, not yet anyway. So I opted for the more traditional cage diving approach. With all our checks complete, I entered the cage. As the cage plunged beneath the surface of the water, the shock of the icy South Atlantic Ocean sent my heart rate through the roof. I took a few moments to take some deep, calming breaths. I was now completely out of my comfort zone and in the realm of the biggest predatory fish in the world. The water visibility was so poor, I could barely see 2 or 3 meters beyond the cage. All I could do was wait anxiously in the murky blue. All of a sudden, a voice radioed through to my headset. "Okay, get ready, Patrick. The shark's coming in. What's it feel like to be that close?" But I stayed silent. I still couldn't see anything. Then it hit me, quite literally, because although I couldn't see the shark, I could feel something banging against the cage. I turned around and there it was, our great white shark thrashing against the metal bars. There was no mistaking its power. With every flick of its tail, the cage was thrown against the boat, again and again. After what seemed strangely like both an eternity and a split second, the churning of the water eased, and with that, the shark slowly disappeared back into the murky water. Hey there, don't worry, you're safe and sound. This isn't one of those terrible shark horror movies. It's 30 Animals That Made Us Smarter, an original podcast from the BBC World Service that explores some of the amazing ways in which animals have solved human problems. I'm Patrick I, and if you've enjoyed the stories so far, then tell your friends and family and do spread the word. And we'd love to hear from you. You can email us at 30animals@bbc.com, or you can contact us via our website, bbcworldservice.com/30animals. Well, now in this podcast, number 15, Shark and Hospital Surfaces, we're getting up close and personal with sharks as we discover how their rough sandpaper-like skin could hold the key when it comes to reducing hospital infections and perhaps even save lives. It's bizarre, but it's also true. Sharks are apex predators. Their hunting prowess has been fine-tuned over millions of years of evolution. They even have a sixth sense, electromagnetism. The combination of this and their other senses, along with a sleek torpedo-shaped body, makes most sharks highly skilled hunters. But now it looks like their skin also provides them with an evolutionary advantage. There are more than 500 species of shark in the world's oceans, ranging in size from the whale shark, which can reach 12 meters in length, that's about the same size as a double-decker bus, to the dwarf lantern shark, which is less than 1 meter long. The first sharks evolved more than 400 million years ago, long before dinosaurs even roamed the earth. Today, they're found in waters throughout the world. There are so many found off Hunts Bay Beach in South Africa that they have named the beach Shark Alley. Some species migrate vast distances to breed and find food. There are also some which migrate between deep and shallow water every day. These are known as vertical migrations, and depending on the species, this can range from tens to hundreds of meters. Blue sharks, for example, spend the night near the ocean surface, but will dive to depths of 400 meters during the day as they chase down their vertically migrating squid and fish prey. Back in my diving cage, what I noticed about the skin of that great white shark was that it was spotless. No sign of algae, no barnacles, nothing. Needless to say, I didn't try and stroke the shark. I kept my hands firmly inside the cage, thank you very much. But if I had stretched out my hand, I would have discovered something else. If you stroke the animal from head to tail, it feels smooth. But stroke it the other way, and it's as rough as sandpaper. This is because shark skin is made up of millions of small V-shaped scales called dermal denticles. You can think of these as essentially flexible layers of small triangles marked with grooves running down their length in line with the water flow. The grooves prevent swirls of turbulent water, called eddies, from forming, so the water flows more smoothly past the skin. This reduces friction and increases swimming efficiency. Unsurprisingly, this has sparked lots of interest. As I mentioned earlier, one of the things I noticed about the great white shark was just how clean its skin appeared. No algae and no barnacles. The thing is, many aquatic animals are known to host other marine species, like barnacles on their bodies. But surprisingly, sharks remain largely untouched, not only by relatively large Klingons like barnacles, but even at the microbial level, they remain very clean. But barnacles and microorganisms like algae don't just affect marine animals. In 2002, the US Navy had a bit of a grimy issue. Their submarines and ships were prone to getting coated in algae. Professor Anthony Brennan, a materials science and engineering professor at the University of Florida, was also a member of the Office of Naval Research Program on biofouling and visited the US naval bases at Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. He was part of a team hoping to come up with a solution to the ship's algae problem, which would reduce the use of toxic anti-fouling paints, make the vessels more efficient in the water, and cut down on the cost of bringing vessels into land and dry docking them whilst they were treated. Quite the challenge. The first step was understanding how the fouling of ships began. Bacteria, which naturally cling onto the surface of the hull when they're searching for food, excrete a variety of substances in the process. Other organisms are attracted to the area and also attach. The bacteria replicate and the population rapidly increases. Many other organisms, including barnacles and algae, then take up residence and also begin feeding here and start to grow in number. A coating of algae and barnacles on a ship can cause a significant decrease in power efficiency, and the costs associated with combating biofouling can be substantial. Brennan and his colleagues watched as an algae-coated submarine returned to port. He made a note that it looked like a whale lumbering into the harbour. This got him thinking. What about marine animals? Are there any slow-moving inhabitants of the sea that are resistant to the buildup of microorganisms on their skin? And you've probably guessed it by now. The answer was yes, the shark. Brennan wanted to understand what it was about sharks that stopped this growth from happening. He took an impression of shark skin scales, dermal denticles, and using electron microscopy, revealed that the scales are arranged in a distinct diamond pattern with millions of tiny ribs. Brennan had never seen anything like it. He was sure that the presence of these dermal denticles, which are unique to sharks, were the key to the lack of either bacterial or algal growth on their skin. And he was right. It turns out that the dermal denticles basically prevent microorganisms from settling on the skin. Bacteria find it tricky to attach to this type of surface because they either have to straddle the ridges or bend into the gaps. This puts tension on their cell membranes and reduces the area of contact when compared with a flat surface. The bacteria have to use energy to cling to such uneven surfaces, so they tend to settle elsewhere. Brennan measured the width to height ratio of the ribs to find out what was needed to discourage microorganisms from settling. From that, a synthetic surface was designed based on the findings called Sharklet. Founding a company to develop products that inhibit bacteria attachment to different surfaces, he continues to work on designs and materials and make them commercially available. A revolutionary application for this kind of bug-proof surface would of course be to use them in our hospitals, where keeping surfaces bacteria-free is a real issue. Scientists have already looked into how we can use different materials to prevent the spread of bacteria. Copper alloys, for example, are one option. Being toxic to bacteria cells, they work by interfering with their cellular processes, which kills them off. But the material modelled on shark skin works differently in that rather than killing bacteria, it would prevent them from attaching in the first place. You can easily see this being used on a variety of high contact areas like door handles and light switches. These are surfaces that are touched by many people over the course of a 24-hour period. Great for bacteria, bad for us. So by coating these surfaces in bacteria-resistant materials, we could reduce the spread and infection rates of dangerous superbugs like methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus bacteria, otherwise known as MRSA. So, back out at sea, where our story began, this shark skin technology could be used not only on the hulls of ships, but also to coat underwater research vessels and robots, which would make them more efficient by keeping their surfaces free of algae and barnacles, which would otherwise increase their drag. But what I'm really looking forward to is a not too distant future where communal surfaces in places like hospitals, toilets and waiting rooms are routinely coated in bug-resistant materials inspired by some of Mother Nature's most unlikely characters. We often think of sharks as killing machines, but as this story shows, they could in fact be the secret to saving thousands of lives. Head to our website now for a list of sources of information for this episode. It's all at bbcworldservice.com/30animals. And join the conversation. Drop me a line on your social media platform of choice with your thoughts and comments. The hashtag is 30animals. In number 16 of 30 Animals That Made Us Smarter, an original podcast from the BBC World Service, we'll be hearing how a spider has inspired a robot design that instead of having you run for your life, could help save it. Are you brave enough to meet the robot spider? Thanks for listening.